This is a regularly scheduled town board meeting. First order of business is roll call. Mrs. Green,
Here.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Present.
Mr. Manley,
Here.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Here.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Here.
Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Supervisor, any changes to the agenda?
The only changes I have under 11A, there'll be an 11A1 and an 11A2 because there'll be two different votes on that. And number 12 is off. Start the process to hire the part-timer. We will not do that at this time. That's all I have, Joseph.
Very good. Any other changes?
I got none.
I have none.
All right, great, thank you. Next, we go on to item 5, approval of audit.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion to approve this audit in the amount of $473,712.78. If someone wants to make that motion.
So move.
Second.
Was that Councilman Lobiondo who seconded, please?
It was not.
Oh, it's Councilman Ruggiero.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 6 for Roston CCI. Item A, State Environmental Quality Review.
All right. So the first thing with this on Roaston CCI is we're going to approve seeker as a negative declaration. Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second your motion.
Any discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Then next we go on to item B for the host agreement.
All right, so this is part of a community host agreement for Roaston CCI. And as it breaks down in this host agreement, the town will be receiving in 2021, this year, 380,000, 2022, 225, 2023, 225, 2025, 275,000. It's actually a total of $1.4 million, $1.440,000 over the course of the term. This has been agreed upon with the Marlborough School District, of course, Roaston, and ourselves, and we've been negotiating this for some time, and I think we really got it where we want it, and Marlborough Schools is even happy with it. So we'll probably look for a motion to approve that host agreement.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next we
Again
go
here,
on.
I'm
sorry?
sorry, Joe, go ahead. You go ahead.
Next, we go on to item 7 for accounting. The first item is a budget transfer for 2020 year end.
All right, again, Ron Clum is suggesting these transfers for the 2020 budget still. So, and they're as presented, because I'm not going to read these off, but if someone wants to make a motion as presented.
So move.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Hold on, my lights went out.
As long as somebody's home, Joe, even if the lights are out, as long as somebody's home.
I thought I lost my vision there. Next, we go on to item B, which is another budget transfer, this one for the Desmond property.
As you recall, we didn't acquire the Desmond property till like December, so it's before our budget time, but we did anticipate obtaining the Desmond property. So these are transfers just so we'll have line items so we could pay things like fuel, oil, and electric from different line items directly for Desmond so we can keep track of that. Someone want to make that motion as presented?
I'll make the
I'll make the
motion.
motion.
Councilman Ruggiero made the motion. Do I have a second, please?
I will second it.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piacquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 8 for code compliance. This is an approval to assign a road name of Promise Lane.
All right, so here, Susan Riccici, I guess, owner of the property, they'd like the name of Promise Lane. And this is off of Promise Lane is off of what road?
It's off of Coach Lane, which is at the end of Carriage Drive.
Okay, very good. So that's where it's located and it's gone through code compliance and checks with 911. So someone want to make a motion for Coach, for Coach Lane, for Promise Lane. We'll take
I'll
it.
make the motion.
I'll second it.
let Paul,
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piacquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 9 for animal control. This is a T94 withdrawal for the Animal Rights Alliance.
All right, so we're going to look for a motion to withdraw $20 from the T94 account. And that's for Tara Incorporated. And this is a donation account, not taxpayer money, but so someone will make that motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
I'll
second
second.
it.
go ahead,
I'll second the motion. Sorry.
Thank you, Councilman Manley. Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piacquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 10 for the Highway Department. Approval to solicit bids for summer material, cold milling, tree cutting, and heavy equipment rental.
All right, does someone want to make that motion for the summer equipment? I hope it comes soon this summer, let alone the equipment, but
I'll make
So-
the motion,
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piacquadio.
yes.
And next we go on to item 11 for the engineering department. Well, the first item is A, Millhouse Road Embankment Utilization Project. And the first motion we'll need is for item I.
All right. I see Pat Hines is out there. Maybe we can unmute Pat Hines for just a minute. Pat, yeah, he's unmuted. Good. So Pat, this is actually for a retaining wall. It's going to go on Millhouse Road. Does this work for that?
Can't hear you, Pat.
Well, you sounded like you're underwater there, Pat. Must be your audio or something over there.
He's muted right now.
Yeah.
He muted himself. He's calling in now.
Huh?
I think he's calling in now.
Oh, okay. Pat, if you could hear me, just call me and I'll put you on the speakerphone.
Well, he's in here now.
Is he in?
Yeah.
But he's got to unmute himself.
How am I doing now?
Well, I don't know. So we'll give it a try.
Yeah, he's good.
You're good. They're telling me you're good, Pat.
I switched to my phone. I'm having computer issues.
Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to, this was actually a retaining wall that's being built up by Millhouse, because we done a lot of work there with that culvert a couple of years back, right?
Yeah, this is between the culvert and Route 9W. There's right by the pond, between the mill house and the pond. There's a 200 plus or minus foot section of the embankment that's kind of sloughing off towards the pond and taking the road with it. So it's a road by use, so we don't have much area to work in. So we're looking to put a soldier pile retaining wall in between the roadway and the pond so the road stays there.
All right, very good, Pat. So with that, the low quote to perform the survey work on this project was Mercuria, Norton, Tiroli, Marshall, at a cost not to exceed $7,150. That's for the survey. Someone want to make that motion?
That's for the,
I'll make the motion.
Who made the motion, please? Was that Councilman Manley or Councilman?
sir.
Thank you, Councilman Manley. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it then.
Thank you. Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes,
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to 11A double I.
Okay. So this is the low quote to perform test borings and geotechnical analysis with Dan Locks, PE, for a cost of $12,500. And again, that's not to exceed. Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make.
I'll make the motion.
Councilman Ruggiero made the motion. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second that one too.
Can we
Thank
have
you.
discussion before the vote?
Certainly.
Pat, can you hear me? Scott Manley here.
yes, I can. Yep.
I mean, it's a very historical, sensitive area. The borings will not bother anything over there.
No, the borings will be done within the roadway. There'll be about 4-inch diameter holes that'll be bored in the existing roadway to check for the depth of bedrock and the stability of the soil there. And then they'll be patched up they'll be grouted with cement and then paved back over before there'll be circles in the road.
Okay,
But that's one of the reasons why we're looking at the soldier pile retaining wall, is because of the sensitivity nature of that area. Number one, we don't have a lot of room to work with, and the soldier pile wall can kind of blend in a lot better than a concrete modern structure.
okay. I've spoken to Richie Rosencrans about this. He's now the director of Millhouse. And so hopefully we can all work together to make sure it's aesthetic and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, there'll be a need for some guide rail between the roadway and the wall too. So that's something we'll work with them to, do the most aesthetically pleasing guide rail we can. Right now there's orange construction fence in that area.
Exactly. It's exactly what he told me. Excellent.
Yeah.
And I have a question too.
Yep.
What's the timetable on this?
Little weather dependent, but as soon as spring comes, right now the survey wouldn't be done with the snow on the ground, but as soon as the snow leaves, we can authorize the surveyor. The surveyor would be first, and then the geotech, because we need the elevations. And this is pre-design work. This is the information we need to come forward with a design for the actual engineered structure. But as soon
Okay.
as the weather breaks, we'll get going on it.
Thank you.
Now, Pat, how many boring holes are they anticipating?
I think there was
Is
3,
there-
there
is
may
there
be
a set
4 but
number?
from the hip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, let's vote on this. Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 11B, approval to award bid for Meadow Hill South Parallel Relief Sewer Project.
All right. So on this one, it's of course we received bids for that Meadow Hill South Parallel Relief Sewer, the bids range from $996,000 to $1.8 million. And we were advised by our engineers that TAM Enterprises at the low bidder of $996,000, that we should award it to them. So I'm looking for a motion to award that. But Pat, is there going to be a completion date on this project?
Yeah, this project is subject to the consent order worked out with the DEC due to the previous overflows from there. And it's a completion date of September. So that's why it's important to award it now. Part of the consent order was a schedule of compliance that included this project.
Okay, very good. So does someone want to make a motion then to award this to TAM Enterprise?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second your motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Item 12 has been deleted, so we move on to item 13. For the Recreation Department, approval to start process to hire 2 part-time recreation aides.
All right. And these 2 part-time recreation aides will more than likely end up at the Desmond Estate. So someone want to make a motion to start the process to hire 2 part-time aides?
so moved.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 14 for announcements.
All right, and I'm going to do mine first real quick. And again, I want to thank the Highway Department, the Police Department, and everyone who worked the snowstorm. And I think we're getting another one, even though nowhere's near as bad as that first one, maybe even this evening. So as I always say in quotes, like it never ends, but we have a great staff that keeps up with it. With that, Betty, you have anything?
I'm going to echo your statement because it was on my mind also. To me, they've done over and above with all the snow we've had this year, and I thank them very, very much for working so hard for our residents. And everybody be careful on the next storm.
Paul, you have anything for us?
no, I have nothing, Gil. Thank you.
Okay. Scott,
Same as everything about the highway, the police, and all our town employees doing a great job.
that's why I went first, because I knew I wouldn't have anything to say at the end if I did. Anthony?
I'm just going to echo what you said, Gil. Thank you to our highway and police for keeping us safe.
Very good.
Okay, next
with
we
that-
go on. Next,
Go
we
ahead,
go on
Joseph.
to item 15 for public comments.
So anyone in the public, could we just scroll them, Bob? Shall we do that? Who we got?
We have Chief Campbell, but
No, I don't think he's got anything.
ET,
Who?
ET.
Okay, we have ET out there. Does ET want to say anything? If you unmute you.
Yes, I just have an inquiry. Executive Order 203. I believe most municipalities had to convene a panel to discuss the executive order. I would like to know if you have a panel, who they are, and how many times you've met.
All right, with that, maybe you could unmute the chief. I mean, Chief and Scott Manley are the most on this, but Chief, if you could unmute, you can answer that maybe for us. Could you unmute the chief?
Yes,
Okay, here he is.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Very good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the panel has just been convened. We haven't met yet. We are, it looks like we're going to start our meetings next week on Tuesday. As far as the actual members of the panel, I would have to defer to Scott Manley on that.
Please.
Excuse me?
No, I'm sorry.
All right, so the first meeting, Bruce, is actually Tuesday. Is that next Tuesday at 7 o'clock? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think as far as my understanding is that we are going, like the meetings are going to be Zoom type meetings, so everybody can listen in on them. It's a very open type of discussion that people will be able to contribute to. And I think that we're scheduled to have our first one next Tuesday, but I have to defer to Scott Manley, that's actually the case.
Scott, can you answer that then, please?
Yeah, we're hoping to. We're just going to talk to the members, and also tomorrow or Wednesday, the chief and I have been working on the survey we're going to send out. Hopefully we can start sharing that online. If not tomorrow, if we can get in and out with the weather Wednesday and basically get the public input, and by next Tuesday have the actual public Zoom meetings. And Mr. Tarad, I think you want to know who some of the people were on the committee, or the,
Yes,
okay. The chief, myself, I believe it's Bob Conflitti from the DA's office, right, chief?
That's correct, yeah.
We're still waiting to hear from legal aid. We requested them. I was told that most towns are not getting involved. Hopefully we'll at least get a yes or a no. Some of the public people, Colin Jarvis, town Newburgh resident, runs Newburgh Ministries and a few other programs. Jennifer Flynn, businesswoman, her and her wife own Barking Goose over on North Plank Road, also a town resident. Terry Verrett, the gentleman runs the African Cultural Center. Him and his wife are the founders. I don't know if you want to call them owners. And I know I'm missing, Pastor Irving Rivera from Meadow Hill Church. And then we'll get the whole public involved once we get going, absolutely.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Toronto, too, I want to add to that, too, that body cameras are coming in any day, Bruce. Is that right? We've ordered them already for all officers.
Yeah, they're just being programmed right now by our IT people. So we expect them to be online. It could be any day now.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I
Anyone
just
else,
want to
Bob?
I'm sorry, I didn't know if somebody else had their hand up. Oh, okay.
Vanessa, that's Vanessa. I can hear you, but I can't see on my screen, but.
Oh.
Bob, it's Vanessa. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, so I also want to reiterate a great job with the police department and our DOT for, clearing up snow and all that. They are out there at all hours and doing a fantastic job. So my question is, thank you for responding to Executive Order 203 and getting a panel together. And I also like the people that you got there because it shows a little bit of diversity, and I'm happy about that as well. And people within our community. So that's always a good thing to get them involved. Two questions I have. I know you've probably read about the resort coming into for the gambling machines. At this point, it's still, I guess, under review. I'm not sure how that is, but I have no objections to it at this point because I don't know too much about it. But anything to bring in business into the town, I would look at it with definitely an open mind because we definitely need that. As I indicated before, small businesses are suffering in the town of Newburgh, as you well know. So anything to boost them up, including that mall that we have, it would help the area. So I'm looking forward to additional information with that. My next question or comment is, I recently saw that your son Gil was given a position with our parks department. I think it's junior custodian or something like that. I don't know. I kind of found that to be of an issue in terms of you being the supervisor, and of course your son. It would almost be like a nepotism type of situation. And I wanted, or a conflict of interest, being you are our town supervisor. Did you not see that or feel that that would have been a conflict of interest?
Well, let me say this, Mr. Toronto. I really didn't take part too much in the hiring process in any way. I would say this, though. I've been with this town 24 years in one aspect or another. And I don't know if anyone thinks I waited 24 years just to be in a position where I could hire my my firstborn to clean toilet bowls, really. So,
well, I hope not.
I mean, I got to laugh with you too on this one. So, and I don't think I'm the first one guilty of their child working at where their father works. Unfortunately, it looks like I control everything here, but you know what? I really don't control everything. I don't think what I've done was any ethics issue, and if it is, we could turn it into the ethics board and have them look at it.
Perhaps that should have been done before he was hired then. Was it reviewed by the ethics board?
Well, You could
Does
say
that-
that perhaps, but I don't think I'm the first one whose son has ever worked for the town, let alone in a custodial position.
Yeah, I
So,
would know.
so that's that. And I do have another son that works in the town that's worked for a number of years. And he started as an intern, so he actually donated his time and then eventually got a part-time job and eventually a full-time job. So I don't know. And I would do that for anybody, it's like my family or whatever. But there are civil service things to go by on many of these positions. Some being tested, you got to be in the top 3 and all that. So
Yeah,
I certainly feel I've done nothing wrong in any way and never would with my family. And other people want to say, hey, look at this guy, what's he doing? Go to the ethics board. Well, all of the alarm systems and the monitoring in this town is monitored by my family business, but we're not, the charges, the town is not charged for anything. So that's about $25,000 a year that in a way is donated to the town. And I don't write it off neither on the income tax. So that's where I stand. I always try to be straight and forward. I hope that answers it, Mr. Serrato. I don't know.
it does. And I appreciate you being honest and frank with me. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Okay. Anyone else do we have?
Lauren Mandel.
Okay, it says Landell on the screen, but I can't see him from here. So do we have a question? Do they have a question, Bob?
And they have to unmute if they want. Here they are.
Oh, gosh. I'm so sorry. I hope my dogs don't start barking. Okay, guys, stop. I'm sorry. They're just all of a sudden got very active. As soon as you asked me to unmute, they're,
Okay, but snow it, I guess, but
gosh, I'm sorry about that.
okay.
Sorry. It did just have a couple of questions, just relating back to the January meeting. You know, I was really concerned in my neighborhood, just around the corner, there was a meth lab that was, you know, deconstructed, that was found out, thank God, by the town of Newburgh Police. I mean, I don't know if the FEI were involved in that or not. That was really shocking to me. It's a really nice neighborhood next to my neighborhood, a much nicer neighborhood than my neighborhood, actually. When I say nicer, I guess I mean upper class neighborhood more than mine. So, and that was really shocking. And then again, you know, just really concerned about the drug issue in the town, and relating to opioids and other illegal drugs that are flooding our Newburgh streets. And I know we got a dog for bombs, you know, but I really, again, I feel like drugs and drug enforcement and drug eradication in our community needs to be a priority, and I don't hear a lot about it. I get continually concerned about that because, again, especially with that meth lab being found. I mean, that was a big operation that was going on. That wasn't a little operation. And you know, that's just one example of other home businesses that are running right in our neighborhood, besides the one that was turned down by the planning zoning board. So I want to bring up that issue. I don't know if you want to. I have another question as well, though. So I don't know if you want me to ask both questions at once or just to answer that one first.
All right, Chief, could you answer that question for? You got to unmute yourself, I guess. So.
Well, first of all, I mean, I can't speak too much about that particular case only because it is an ongoing investigation and not to jeopardize any type of prosecution that's going there. Although I can say that we don't have any evidence that he was actually producing and selling methamphetamines from there. That's the first type of lab that we found here in the town of Newburgh. Like I can't really go into detail as to what it is transpired there, but I can say I don't believe that it's a widespread concern, at least as far as methamphetamines. Now, drugs in general are certainly a concern, and we are looking to add canines for drug intervention and other programs that we can help to do some drug intervention. That's part of our plan going forward. But drugs are definitely a concern for us, and it's something that we continue to work on every day.
And are we involved in drug court in the town of Newburgh, or is that just the city of Newburgh?
Well, court in general, just because of the COVID situation, has practically shut down. There's no in-person court right now. There is no longer any bail for any drug-related offenses. So where, and this is the unfortunate part of the bail reform, is that when you would arrest somebody for the possession of narcotics, that would be maybe their opportunity to dry out a little bit and be able to kick it, or at least get themselves into a program. We're essentially issuing them appearance tickets and they're back out on the street within hours. And that's
No, I do understand that. I guess what I was asking was, just my ignorance, in the city of Newburgh, I know they do have access to the drug court. It is video, you're correct, but I do work with that drug court. But is that something that we have in the town of Newburgh also? Or is it only for the city of Newburgh?
Yeah, we don't have that number of drug arrests here. But we work with the courts in all of those programs, and we work closely with the city of Newburgh as well. And I've met, well, probably about a year ago now, with some of the judges over in the city of Newburgh as well, everything's trying to evolve. We're trying to evolve into how we can best handle these drug programs and deal with some of these issues from without incarceration, but also to get people the help they need and try to persuade them to get help, even if they don't think they need it. But we're working on it.
And how about having Hope Not Handcuffs work with you guys?
We have not been approached by them. My understanding was that they don't have any of the angels that live in our area, or at least our jurisdiction.
No, you actually approach them. They don't solicit any business. Chiefs of police from different jurisdictions actually reach out to them and ask because you're inviting them into your house. So sure. That's actually how that works.
I'm certainly open to that. That was maybe my misunderstanding. I was under the impression that they didn't have anyone in our area that lived here that was an angel that could provide the support here, but I'd certainly reach out to them without hesitation.
That'd be great.
Chief, can I just say something on that? Lauren, 2 or 3 times, including about 3 weeks ago, I messaged Hope Not Handcuffs on their Facebook page. And it comes up that they will get back to you. I gave them a number and everything and have not heard from them.
I will, I'll reach out to Annette Cars. She's the executive director. So they probably have, I know they just got a huge grant, so they're expanding, but I'll reach out to Annette, and I don't have your, I could send, I don't know how to connect you and Annette together, but
Chief Campbell, right?
Yeah, I'll get the message to them to reach out to you.
Yeah, the other chiefs I had spoke to said that they reached out to them. So, but I'm certainly willing to meet with them at any time.
Okay, well, that would be great. That makes me a little happier. And then also just the other question that I want to ask or request is that, and I guess, I don't know if it goes to the board or to Gil specifically, but the Zoom, you guys having Zoom meetings is tremendous. It makes this whole process so much better for me personally as a citizen. I asked the planning board to please, do the same. And I was told by Joe Petty that, it's up to the leader of that group to make that decision. I emailed the leader of that group. He did not bother to even respond to my email. He actually communicated to me through Joe. And Joe was, of course, always a gentleman. He conveyed everything to me. And it really was, his response I thought was so inappropriate. He said to me, one of the committee members mentioned that showing up is 90% of being concerned. And I just really take exception to that, because I show up in so many ways, because I can't show up at a planning meeting on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And frankly, he doesn't want me to show up at town hall when I'm covered with my COVID germs from seeing patients. I need to come home, I shower, I disinfect, and then I can go forth. So I really, really took exception to that. And I think that all of the meetings that the town is having should be using this forum or a forum like that, where at least we can stay involved without having to physically go to the meetings. It just seems completely unacceptable in this day and age when you guys are doing it so successfully, clearly, why he can't make that decision at all. And it seems to be just up to him. So if it is just up to him, I just would ask everyone on this, in this Zoom meeting right now, to please encourage him to strongly do it. There's no reason why he shouldn't. And I think that if you encourage him to do it, that may be the push that he needs. So
All right, thank you, Mrs. Mandel. Is there anything else? From anyone, Bobby?
I'm not married.
Terry,
Who do we have?
Terry.
Terry?
Terry, what is your last name?
My last name is Blancato Horton. My question was getting back to the E203. I had sent you a letter, Gil. Actually, Vanessa and I had asking to meet with you about that, stating we were interested, and we haven't heard anything back. I was wondering why.
I don't know why. I know that goes back quite a ways, and you had sent a letter saying you'd be interested, you felt you were a stakeholder or whatever.
September the
Oh.
9th.
Maybe I'll get that over to the chief, or could you resend it to me, even if by email?
Sure, sure.
Okay, if you could resend it to me and I'll get it over to the chief and Scott.
Yes, I'll send it to you.
And I
Thank
also
you.
had some questions about the casino. I wonder what kind of studies that you've looked into about the effects on the surrounding community when a casino comes in. Have you studied that at all, or like what
Well, let
kind
me
of
just say
research
this.
have we done about this
Right.
casino?
We done research when Saratoga Casino was going to come up on the hill there off the 17K where the Matrix is. We've done studies then on a casino. But
Can
for
you
one
share
thing,
that with us?
that was a major casino compared to, this is going to be a video games, like this is what they had at Monticello Raceway. But here's what I got to say is, they have not presented that plan to the town yet. I'm hoping on the 22nd, if they're on the agenda, they will present it to the town on the 22nd. So I read more in the newspaper than I knew myself, but they did quote me, and it's true, because they did ask me, well, what would it take for video gaming to be in the town? I said, well, it would take we would have to add gaming to the zone or whatever, and then the environmental study, traffic study, whatever. But I really can't comment on something we haven't heard yet. So the time to listen in would be the next meeting, 2 weeks from tonight.
And what about like the taxes? Are you offering them something, or you're not even that far?
We're not even that, I haven't even really spoke to him even other than some telephone calls about getting on the agenda and that type of thing. So
Okay.
nothing's for sure yet. So let's wait on that one.
All right, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Bill
Any-
Better.
Bill, you got a question?
Good evening. Oh, I have a lot of questions, but nothing tonight, I don't think. Thank you.
Okay,
There's-
all right.
There's a lot of
okay.
questions.
All right.
This
thank
is
you,
great,
Bill.
though. This is the first Zoom I've had. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else, Bob?
We have on the phone Nancy T.
Nancy T is on the phone. Nancy, you have anything to say? You should be unmuted.
So, yeah. No, and Shoy Colborn. They can unmute if they want to have a comment or question.
If anyone wants to say anything, just unmute, be another way, and we'll hear you.
Here's Shoy.
No, nothing for me. Thank you.
Nothing. Okay. So we'll get a motion to adjourn then, I think.
I just resent you the email, Gil.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll make the motion then to adjourn if we've heard from all the public. I'm still in town hall. I'm an old fashioned girl, I guess, in a way. I still like to go right here to town hall.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn at 7:37. Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Where's Paul?
Yes.
Okay.
thank you. Councilman Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes. All right. Good night. and Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.